Welcome back, everyone. In today's explainer, we're going to completely decode Araling 4, Allocation and Economic Systems, which translates to Allocation and Economic Systems. We're going to master the exact Tagalog vocabulary you absolutely need to know to ace your Araling Panlipunan exam. Let's just dive right in.
So I want to start by asking you a really big fundamental question. How does a society survive when its resources actually run out? It's a pretty heavy thought, right? But it honestly gets right to the core of what we're talking about today. You know, economics isn't just about money or boring graphs on a chalkboard. It's literally the science of survival. Every single country, every community, and even your own family has to figure out how to keep going when there just isn't enough stuff to go around.
And that, my friends, brings us to the ultimate bad guy of economics. In Tagalog, the word is kakapusan. Let's say that again, kakapusan, meaning scarcity. You really want to remember that dual translation echo because, trust me, kakapusan is absolutely guaranteed to show up on your exam. What it means is the permanent condition of having limited resources to satisfy our totally infinite human wants. It's not just a temporary shortage, like when the grocery store runs out of milk. It is a permanent reality of human existence on Earth.
This whole dilemma is basically a massive collision between two opposing forces. On one side, we have lima dadong likas na yaman, which means limited natural resources, and they are crashing head-on into walang hanggang pangililangan at kagustuhan, infinite needs and wants. I mean, we'd all love an infinite shopping spree, right? But the Earth's resource battery eventually runs down. When these two things crash into each other, the result is kakapusan, or scarcity. And because of this unavoidable reality, society is forced into pagbuo ng desisyon at alokasyon, decision-making and allocation. You literally can't have everything, so you have to make a choice.
Okay, so how do we actually solve this? The immediate mechanism is allocation, or allocation. It's really just a fancy word for the method of distributing resources to meet people's needs. To memorize the different distribution methods for your test, just picture these 4 scenarios. First, market allocation. That happens when you're simply buying goods in a store. Easy. Then there's forcible allocation, which kicks in during extreme emergencies or natural disasters, where all the standard rules just go out the window. Next is governmental allocation. Think of things like distributing vaccines or food rations by authority. And finally, customary allocation, which relies purely on local tradition and cultural norms to decide who gets what.
To actually carry out that allocation, every society has to answer what we call ang tatlong pangunahing katanungan, the 3 basic questions. I want you to think of these Tagalog question words as your mental cheat sheet for the exam. First up, ano, what product to make. This basically determines what a society prioritizes. Second, paano, how to make the product. Are you going to use a lot of capital or a lot of labor? And third, para kanino, for whom is the product? Like, who actually gets to receive the final good? Ano, paano, para kanino. Definitely master those 3 words.
Let's drill down a bit deeper into that second question, the paano, or how. There is a really crucial balance to strike here. You have labor-intensive production, where your key Tagalog word is manggagawa, meaning workers, which focuses on utilizing a massive human workforce. On the flip side, capital-intensive production, where your keyword is makina, or machines, relies heavily on technology and machinery to speed up output. The ultimate goal here is to create products without wasting resources, always trying to find that perfect balance between manggagawa and makina.
Aside from those big 3, there are a few secondary structural questions a society has to answer just to keep the gears turning. First, gaano karami, how much? You have to hit the optimal zone to avoid huge shortages or massive overproduction. Next, kailan bubuin, when to produce. This is usually based on consumer demand and shifting seasons. And finally, paano gumagana ang sistema? How does the whole system work, from the raw materials all the way to the consumer's hands?
Now, when you combine all these decisions and mechanisms together, you get what's called a Sistemang Pang-ekonomiya, an economic system. It is the organized mechanism in the institutions a society uses to meet its needs. But here's the thing, an economic system doesn't just randomly fall out of the sky. It rests on 3 foundational pillars. It is heavily shaped by geografia, meaning geography, kultura, meaning culture, and paniniwala at batas, which translates to beliefs and laws.
All right, now we're going to look at the 4 distinct blueprints that societies actually use, starting with the traditional ekonomiya, the traditional economy. If you see this pop up on a quiz, I want you to rhythmically scan the sentence for these specific Tagalog test keywords. Pamilya or tribo, meaning centered on the family or tribe. Tradition, meaning production is based purely on tradition for daily needs. And barter,
which is the exchange of goods without using money. So if you spot pamilya, tribo, or barter, boom, you are looking at a traditional economic, for sure.
Now let's contrast that ancient model with the ipinaguutos na ekonomiya, or the command economy. The absolute most important keyword to hunt for here is pamahalaan, which means government. In this system, private ownership is completely locked out, no way around it. The pamahalaan makes all the decisions, using a central economic plan. They dictate the jobs, the wages, and the prices. A really common modern example of this extreme level of central control is North Korea.
Moving to the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have the Sistemang pampamilihan, the market economy. Your magic trigger word here is privado, meaning private. In this setup, there is absolute private ownership of resources. This system is completely guided by capitalism and pansariling interes, which means self-interest. In this blueprint, the government basically completely backs off, and prices are dictated purely by the natural interaction and competition between buyers and sellers.
Finally, we have the blueprint that most of the world actually uses today, the Pang-ekonomiya, or mixed economy. It's exactly what it sounds like. It pieces together the free market with government control, kind of like a giant puzzle. The private sector has the freedom to operate, but the government still steps in to regulate things and protect people and nature. Fun fact for you, even countries that are super famous for having free markets, like the United States, are actually mixed economies, because the government still builds the roads, enforces environmental laws, and regulates major industries.
Okay, here is your ultimate synthesis table for comparing all these systems. Paghahambing ng mga sistema. When you're sitting there taking your multiple choice exams, a great trick is to look for extreme opposites to quickly eliminate those wrong answers. For example, under ownership or pagmamayari, contrast the command economy's pamahalaan, the government, with the market economy's privado, or private ownership. By memorizing this grid, just knowing that traditional relies on community, command on government, market on private, and mixed on both, you can honestly crack almost any question they throw at you.
Let's shift our narrative into the test decoder finale. I'm going to explicitly teach you the mental algorithm for parsing tricky Tagalog test syntax, especially if it's not your first language. Step 1. Scan for Tagalog question stems. Don't panic at a super long sentence. Just look for simple words like ano or paano. Step 2. Identify the root keywords. If you spot the word pamahalalan, your brain should immediately flag the word government. Step 3. Match that keyword with the English blueprint concept we just talked about. Pamahalalan equals command economy. It's really that simple.
Let's simulate exam day right now with a pagsubok, a knowledge check. We're going to isolate the visual keywords in these Tagalog sentences. Question 1 says, sinusunod ng pamahalaan sa command economy. Boom, there's our word, pamahalahan. Question 2 says, nakabatay sa tradisyon at paniniwala. The keyword there, tradisyon. Question 3 asks for the primary motivation in a market economy. Question 4 asks for a country implementing a command economy. And question 5 says, nakatuon sa paggagamit na makinina. Our keyword is makinina, meaning machines.
And let's reveal the magatamang sagot, the correct answers. See how beautifully this decoding actually works? For number 1, the plan followed by the pamahalaan, the government, is the central economic plan. For number 2, a system based on tradisyon is, of course, the traditional na ekonomiya. For number 3, the motivation in a market is pansariling interes, self-interest. For number 4, a command economy country would be somewhere like North Korea or Cuba. And for number 5, using makina, machines, means you are definitely using a capital-intensive method. You just translate those specific keywords and you instantly find your answer.
Well, you are officially ready to completely crush your Araling Panlipunan exam. But right before we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought that really goes beyond the classroom walls. Take a look around the country you live in right now. Based on the economic blueprint of your own society, who is really making the decisions? Is it the free market, the government, or a mix of both? Who truly controls the allocation of your survival resources? Keep that question rolling around in your mind as you look at the world today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.